Yo, my bad. The lunch alarm just went off and it cut my video stream. So, like I was saying, we're talking about the slave trade, right? And we're talking about how from Europe to Africa goes guns and liquor. They're going to trade the guns and liquor for prisoners of war. And they're going to take them to the barrier islands off the coast of Africa and shuffle the people so that they can't overthrow the people who are running the ship. All right. So again, from Europe to Africa goes guns and alcohol. From Africa to the New World. All right, from Africa to the New World. This right here is the Middle Passage. This is the slave voyage right here. Okay, and we're gonna see that a vast majority goes to the Caribbean and South America, but we're gonna see a significant portion still are gonna come to what we consider mainland USA. All right, so again, this is the Middle Passage, and that's another thing that's going to live and breathe on the EOC. All right, from the New World back to Europe is going to be raw materials. Okay, we aren't manufacturing over here yet. We're not really going to manufacture over here until we get into the 1800s. Right, and so the triangle again, raw materials go back to Europe. Europe's going to turn those into finished products, and again, this triangle just continues. But the Middle Passage, that's the big piece, and that's going to be African slavery. All right. Now, Georgia. Georgia's going to get created. Most of you guys already know all about Georgia thanks to your Georgia Studies classes. Georgia was created by Oglethorpe here as a buffer. We've got Spanish Florida down here. Okay, the Spaniards and their Indian friends, the Seminoles, have started to attack Charlestown. Okay, and so Oglethorpe goes. Had a buddy who was in debtor's prison, had to step over the body of a rotting William Penn, and goes to the king. Is like, yo, man, this is terrible. Let me create a buffer colony because Charlestown makes a lot of money and it's in danger from Spanish attacks. And so what we're going to see, Georgia's created as a buffer between Spain and Charlestown. People who come and fill up Georgia, they're all former prisoners, and they're for the most part going to be incredibly loyal. All right, and they're going to be incredibly loyal because they're given a second chance. You could either be hanging out with really fecal a really fecal situation in debtor's prison, or you could smell sweet honeysuckle blossoms, and occasionally get to punch a Seminole in the face, right? It's a much better look than being in prison, all right? And so Georgia will be set up. Doesn't really have much of an economy. It's more purely just a buffer originally. All right, so one of the big change things, and really like what we can kind of look at, all reform in U.S. history kind of all draws itself back to this Great Awakening. Okay, the Great Awakening is going to be led largely by Edwards and Whitfield. You definitely need to be able to tie Edwards and Whitfield to the Great Awakening. I think I've got a slide. Yeah, there we go. Edwards and Whitfield. Really what it is they're going around and they're teaching what they're calling New Light ministries. The old light, this predestination stuff, it's done. All right. At least they're not teaching predestination. We can see here. I'm going to come around the other side so I can read this. But Puritanism and the epidemic of evangelism of the mid-18th century had created challenges to the traditional notions of social stratification. All right. And so, it's really going to change society by preaching that the Bible taught that all men are equal. Yeah, look at that. The Bible says that all men are equal, that the true value of a man lies in his moral behavior, not in his class. I hear you, Ann Hutchison. That's exactly what she was saying about the general court, and that all men can be saved. Predestination be damned. Be a good person. Be a good person and live your life, the way that the way that people should, and salvation can be attained. This is gonna be some real enlightening stuff. And it's gonna captivate people because, they're just not, people are trying as they might. Especially, I like to use the Puritans as an example. They try as they might to fit in, but that good old boy system's tough unless you're in the inn, right? And so it's gonna be a big change, to teach that all men are created equal, to teach that everybody can be saved, and to talk about it's about your moral behavior is your source to salvation is gonna really be detrimental. I'm gonna go back one to a lot of the religions like Puritanism and separatism. What we're going to see is that the Puritan and separatist church are gonna fall apart. What we're going to see is Episcopalian, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal churches are all going to really start to blossom along with Presbyterianism. And again, I hope that we can go back and hyperanalyze this map, because it really shows a lot of cool stuff and a lot of diversity, especially in your middle colonies. Yeah. And we can kind of take a good look at this. One of the big effects, other than on religion, that the Great Awakening is going to have is on literacy. All right, these guys, the Whitfields and the Edwards and lots of other these evangelic preachers that are traveling and spreading these new light ministries. They're saying, we're glad that you're receiving this well, but don't take our word for it. Read the Bible yourself. And that's like a totally new look, because most people weren't reading the Bible when they went to church. They would go to church and they would just take the preacher's word for it. And so literacy rates are going to skyrocket, and people are going to cut their literary teeth on the Bible. And it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big, and it's going to really, again, be the source of a lot of reform, from anti-slavery to women's rights to voting rights for people who aren't landowners. All of these things can tie themselves back into this Great Awakening fairly easily. All right. Now, the big question is, if this Great Awakening is so impactful and so powerful, and it's teaching that all men are created equal, how can we have this, this idea that all men are equal, and yet we also see an increase of slavery? All right. And it's a valid question, and it takes understanding of realities. Okay, it takes an understanding of realities. What I want you guys to understand is that race is a myth. Okay, now I know that that's a lot to take in. Race is a myth. Racism, however, is very real. Okay, race didn't exist before this time period, all right? The way that we understand it today, okay? What's going to end up happening here is race is going to be created by a Swedish botanist, okay? A Swedish botanist named Carl Linnaeus. Carl Linnaeus, a botanist, dude spends his whole day looking at plants and categorizing them from a science people, kingdom, phylum, genus, species, all that stuff, right? So that's what he does, and the church and the crowns around the world were starting to have a difficult time mediating these ideas that, hey, we can have slavery, and oh yeah, all men are equal. And then Linnaeus comes in. And what you're looking at here is an ethnographic map that Linnaeus made, right? What he did is he categorized humans. He said, well, if I can categorize plants, I want to categorize humans. And he chose race to be the category. And he put humans into 3 races, okay? 3 races. Now, I'm going to come around here so I can kind of point at some things here. All right. He categorizes humans into 3 races. All right. You have your, one race here, second race, and then third race. Okay. Now, if you're looking at this with any real understanding of what's going on, all right, Europe here is all in this top race. Okay. It's all in the top race. The tier 2, if you will, race is going to be your Southeast Asia's, and other areas, all who have economic value. The places that we want to trade with, we the Europeans want to trade with, but they're not Europeans, are going to be lumped into tier 2. And then tier 3, we can see, is largely sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, sub-Saharan Africa, India, Australia, these areas that don't necessarily serve any economic purpose. Okay, now here's what's wild. Linnaeus says that these people are subhuman. Okay, that they're subhuman, and he justifies slavery with beasts of burden. He claims that they are beasts of burden, and in the in your Old Testament reading, it says that we can take beasts to lighten our load, and just like that, boom, the crowns and the churches have found science as their rationale of how you can have slavery in the midst of a great awakening that says that all men are equal. Linnaeus wasn't done though. Okay, there's Linnaeus right there. He not only lays everybody out on a map and qualifies how human or inhumane they are. He also gives characteristics. All right, characteristics. He says the Amerinds are. I'm gonna come back around. Oh, can't read backwards. The Amerinds are obstinate, contented, free, ruled by custom. The European, this would be like your Native Americans. The Europeans are active, clever, and inventive. They're ruled by laws. The East Asians are severe, haughty, desirous, ruled by opinion. And the Sub-Saharan African is crafty, slow, and foolish, ruled by caprice. If you don't know what caprice is, if you've ever tried to train a dog in the backyard and a squirrel comes by and your dog, you have no control over your dog, all right? That is caprice. Like, squirrel, right? That's caprice. I could be totally focused in and then gone, all right? That's caprice. And so not only is he creating that, but he's also starting to create stereotypes that are going to fill in our understanding of the world around us. All right, that understanding of the world around us is going to be what's big. Remember, I said race is a myth, but racism is real, and it's because racism becomes this integrated structural element in our general understandings of the world around us. All right, this quote up top is huge. All right, this quote up top is huge. It says, as human beings invent meaning, we simultaneously create traditions and structure. which form the scaffolds of action and history. We create these traditions or these stereotypes, these of how people behave, and we fill it into this structure that says that people from sub-Saharan African descent are inhumane and can be beasts of burden, and it creates how we behave and how we write history to how we build our own society. Again, it's all created to justify slavery in the midst of the Great Awakening. I get that it's all heavy stuff, and that most of you are like, yo, what, Monty? Cool. I hope that it at least is somewhat thought-provoking, and that we can talk about it later on. But between these two videos that you guys have watched, I hope that it fills in everything that you need, and I will be back to answer questions and keep us moving, hopefully in a day or two. Peace.